Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So as the Prime Minister today, I'm going to propose the motion that says this House would arrange students in classrooms based on their intelligence and academic performance rather than their age. So the definition, arrange. What do we mean by arrange here is to put things neatly, either it's based by orders or based on similarity or differences. In this case, we're going to divide students in the schools in classrooms or groups based on their intelligence, based on their academic performances, based on comprehension level, rather than the ages, rather than their ages, not like the traditional schools who prioritize the same ages to be put in the same class together. So before we get to the arguments, we're going to give you the limitations that these mechanisms will only be applied to the fourth and upper grade, because in that grade, in the earlier grade, say that the first and the second and the third grade, it will still be the grade for the students to adjust to the schools, and by that their comprehension level will not shown significantly, and it will be harder to teacher to determine to rate their comprehension level. And in the fourth and upper grade, the students will start to join competitions, and by that some students will learn faster and will learn wider topic because they are preparing to competitions, and there will be differences between the students who join competitions and the students who are not. Now, our arguments will be, why should we divide classrooms based on intelligence instead of ages, and why shouldn't you divide classrooms based by ages? Now, when you teach the classrooms, the students will learn together instead of learn individually, and the development of the class is based by the average of the students. So even though there are students who learn faster, students who learn smartly, there are still students who learn slowly, and because of that, you have to adjust the teaching level to the medium, to the intermediate, or to the middle level, where the smarter students or the faster students have to adjust their progress to the slower level, and the slower students will have to force themselves to increase and to get to the higher level that is actually higher than their actual capability. And also, the strategy to teach the smart students and the strategy to teach the average students and the strategy to teach the slow students are different, very different. Like for example, when you teach the smarter students, you can give the definitions only, and then they will give the examples. But in the slower students, you have to give them the examples also. You have to give them examples as well, because they cannot think of the examples themselves, and by that and to give them to make them understand the topic more, you have to give them more detailed, the topic more detailed, and by that, because there are unevenness, because there is inequality, because you mix the smart students and the slow students together in the class, it will be harder for the teacher to determine the strategy given to them so that they can learn in the best way. The teacher will just give them the middle way of teaching, the middle strategy that will not be specified to either the smart students and also the slow students, and by that the progress will not be effective, and it will not be the fastest way possible to teach any students in the class, because of that difference. And the other side of the house might probably say that because the slow students are put together with the smart students, they will forcibly adjust, they will forcibly follow the speed progress of the smart students, and this will undeniably possible. But in most cases, what happens is the other way around. So it can be the smart students will have to slow their progress. It will not be effective to the smart students because they have to slow their progress of learning, because to the slower students, or another scenario where the slower students cannot understand the topic at all, because the teaching is prioritized to the smarter students, and by that the slower students can understand the topic at all. Now we're gonna give you the comparison between their side of the house and our side of the house. Let's first get to their side of the house. The positivity and the negativity of if you divide classrooms based by ages. The positivity will most likely be the students will adjust in social interactions better, because they are put in the same. They have the same. They have the similar ages, so that they have the similar interest, and by that they can build a good kinship between them together. And the awkwardness, because of the age gap and the biological difference, because older students tend to have taller and bigger body than the younger students, will be prevented. But this positivity is actually not worth it if you compare it to the negativity. There are two scenarios that will most likely be happen if you divide students based on their ages. The first one is the smarter students' ability to learn faster will be wasted, or the slow students can't keep up with the smart students. And also, as we have been explained, it's hard to make the strategy to teach the students in the entire class effectively. It will not be the best way possible to teach them because it's the middle way, and the development rate of the class will be slower or inaccurate. Because even though there are students who will learn fast, because that should have make the class development rate fast, but because there are some slow students mixed in the class, the development rate will not be accurate for either the smart students or the slow students. It will be in average. Now, what do you get in our side of the house? There might be some negativity, but we can give you some justification of this. The first negativity will be there might be some awkwardness because of the age gap or the biological difference, and also the older students can envy the younger students who can learn as fast as them. But the positivity of this is we can reduce the toxic seniority, and we can teach them the condition in the real life where actually success is not based by ages. Your development is not based by your ages. You can be success in 40 or 50, and it's not actually based on the by ages, but in your own journey. And also the other negativity, the slower students can envy the smarter students, but this can actually be prevented if you give the understanding for the students that this mechanism is not actually given to discriminate them, but instead to effectify the learning process to them. And also the jealousy of the slower students who are placed in other groups with the smarter students can be a motivation for the slower students to reach the level of the smart students. It can be a good motivation for them. And now we can get to the positivity. The class will now contain students that have the smaller comprehension or the similar comprehension or the similar intelligence. This can be good for either the smart students or the slower students. The smart students can now learn faster because the class will be entirely fast. The class will be entirely smart, so they can learn together fastly without any slower students, anything that make them stop, anything that have to make them slow the level. And by this we can boost their performance to the level where they can compete in competitions, or we can give them the platform to boost or to utilize their actual intelligence. They can boost their advantages of their intelligence. And also for the slower students, because now we can determine the strategy to teach them in a more detailed way, in the way they can understand the topic more. The learning process will be also effective for them. It will be also as fast for them. And also there will be no envious in the entire class, because now the students will have the similar comprehension level, so that they can actually learn together between any hardship, because they have the same level of understanding. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.